Hey guys, you're listening to Tay Radio on this beautiful Friday. I'm your producer, Gigi Gonzalez.
I'm your host, Brandon Gomez.
I'm your co-host, Emma Romero.
And I'm your co-host, Annalie Reyes.
Make sure to tune in every Friday at 4 p.m. for our live shows.
And as always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Tay Radio Marin.
Welcome back to Radio. I'm your host, Annalie Reyes.
And I'm your host, Cynthia Hernandez.
And on today's show, we're going to be talking about the protesting situation that's going on in Thailand, and also the protesting going on from India due to the pandemic. They're going against taking exams. So yeah, we want to first talk about Thailand and what's going on. We understood most of what we researched, and I feel like we'll talk more about Thailand than India. So Thailand is protesting for pro-democracy and having a better system. And if you don't know, I'm pretty sure not many of us who live in the United States know much about the government of Thailand, because I didn't know how it was controlled, or they are a constitutional monarchy, and it's just a system where they recognize a monarch but also limit his or her power with the national constitution. So they do have a king and a queen, and it's also like half democratic and half hierarchy, if that makes more sense. So in 2014, they established the Thai coup d'etat. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. It sounds French, but it's Thailand, so I'm like, I don't know. It looks French, but I don't think it is. But the military of Thai successfully did take over the former prime minister. So there was a lot of political crisis after 6 months of this establishment, and the military did establish a government-led committee called the National Council for Peace and Order, and that's abbreviated as NCPO. And in present time, there's still conflict with NCPO. When they gained control, they declared martial law, curfew nationwide. They also control social media, and there's many stuff that they're controlling right now. So yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people from Thailand are against them. Maybe that's why they're protesting for their rights, because it's a lot of stuff that they are controlling, in my opinion. But I know some might think differently. And currently, the police are charging the protestants with sedition. I don't know if I'm saying it right or not. Which in their country is a 7-year prison term, yeah. And this is due to Thailand banning public gatherings and criminal offense related to the involvement in peaceful pro-democracy protests. So they're being charged as that. And most of the people who are being arrested are the leaders of protests, who lead the protest and organize them. And the protest did start in July 18, 2020. And when I researched this information, it says that there has been 14 protestants arrested. There may be more by the time you watch this. So yeah. So the protests were doing speeches, and they wanted clearly democracy. They wanted political reforms and respect for human rights, especially freedom of expression. And you can see just how they restrict that by arresting them because they're doing, peaceful pro-democracy protest. and United States, we should have that too. Sometimes we see we have protests, but we see police arresting people when they're being peacefully. So I see that side of us too, where we need to work on that too. And the present prime minister has noticed what has been happening, but he does not stand for pro-democracy. So that's all I want to share for right now. I must lend it over to Santi to speak a little bit more. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's very interesting what's going on in Thailand. And I focused more when I was doing my research on the student part. And because it's just so interesting how they all united. So a lot of the students that are protesting in Thailand are from high school, they're in college, they're from all different ages, and they're just standing up for what they believe. And one of the other things that they have asked for is for to better the education system, because the education system, it's changing. We're not back in the day the way we were people were learning, with technology. So many things have changed, and they just want a better education system. And I think it goes for everybody, that education has changed so much that we need to transition, and that is what they have been protesting about. And the protests are all student-led, which is so interesting. And part of the law that they have in Thailand is you can't talk bad or criticize or anything against the monarchy. And these students are risking, their freedom, because they're tired of being told you can't do this, you can't speak up about what you believe, you have to be quiet. And I was watching a video, and they were interviewing this young girl who I believe she was the one who announced publicly what they were asking for. And it was a big gathering, a peaceful protest. And they asked her, why are you talking about, the against the monarchy or against the government? And she said, I'm willing to be in prison for as long as they want, than being in my own prison and not talking at all. So she kind of compared it, I'm already in prison because I can't talk about things I believe. And I just found that so interesting. And the students that were being interviewed as well, they kind of said that, the ones that are in college, they said, we don't see hope for the younger generation. And if we could be a voice for them, we are willing to take the risk. Not a lot of people are willing to give up their freedom to stand up for what they believe. I'm just quickly going over my notes on that. So something interesting as well is, because we are in COVID-19 times, the pandemic, protests right now is kind of hard, because if you go out on the streets, you are in really high risk of getting COVID-19. But what they have been doing is protesting via in-person peaceful protests. But they're also doing online, virtual protests. But what they have done in Thailand is actually they've shut down certain social media platforms. So they aren't able to communicate. And if you talk about the monarchy or the government, you're automatically, they took down Facebook for a certain time, because, the youth, they were taking everything and they're using technology, but they did shut down Facebook. So one of the other things, like you mentioned before, is that, that they're being charged. And so one of the things that I saw was that certain students, they were told to turn themselves in the police area, or, where the legal stuff is. And then they would go, and that's when they would be charged and given, a list of what they were being charged for. So that was a different thing that I didn't see, because it wasn't like a fighting, with police or anything. The students themselves were going in and, they were giving them a list of all the things that they were charged for because of the protests, which is really interesting as well. And then another thing I saw was that back in the day, I don't know the date specifically, but there was protests by a small group of people. They were, what were their names? They were associated with they were considered they would wear red t-shirts all the time. But in that small little town, it went into extreme measures and they were attacked. But once that small group saw what was going on, how the youth was speaking up and how they were gathering, of all ages, it's not just the youth, or different people. Those people are actually like fixing their old speakers. And I saw the video of those people like in their backyards, and it's not like a beautiful fancy place, in the backyards, and the guy was fixing the speakers because he said back in the day when we were trying to speak up, we were a very small number of people, but now the whole, everybody's coming together, we have a better chance of making history. And it was just so interesting, how they're doing everything they can to be able to speak up in a very peaceful way. And he was fixing his old like big speaker. And something that I thought was so cool and so interesting was that if you guys know the Hunger Games, there's like this like symbol that they use their three fingers and like lift them up. So students and all Thailand who are protesting against the government and the changes they want, they have adopted that. And you can see in the videos and in the photos like groups of people lifting up their three fingers and just going like that, representing that they stand with the protests. Again, it's so cool because it's a symbol that represents the protests and what they believe. And all students and of all ages, adults, you can see them in the photographs, in the videos, them holding that symbol representing that they stand with the people. So it's just interesting things that are happening around the world. And it did happen here too, where we had, I don't know about you, Annalie, but I think we had an environmental protest at my school, and we had a political protest, and students organized it, and they walked out from classes. And I remember me being in class, and I just saw so many people walk out, and they were, they're like, are you gonna go? We're doing this, that. And it was just all student led. Sometimes people believe that the youth, we're not so mature enough, or we don't know what we're doing, but people, the youth can also create a lot of things and start speaking up about things that are very important, like education and your rights, human rights. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I also want to add that like it's just we're more powerful when we are working together, and maybe like one person cannot like stand like alone, like it's not that much affected, but like if we all come together, they'll see how much like potential we have and how much we can have our voice said. And I also wanted to mention that there is a lot of people who show their dedication and willing to get freedom in Thailand. And I also wanted to mention like there was I was reading an article, and I saw that there was a lawyer who was arrested 3 times because he was in different protests, and this was just in 1 month. He was arrested 3 times in 1 month, and you can just see how dedicated they are, and they're not afraid of like going to prison just to get their voice heard, and wanting that change from that government. And I feel like it would be hard for people to like get out of jail if they didn't have a lawyer. So like you just see how potential like these students have, and being courageous to like willing to go to prison. Going to prison is not like an easy task. Like it can affect your life. Like you can see how like much effort everyone's doing to make that change, and hopefully they do see like a change with the government and political reforms.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's important for all of us to speak out about what we believe. I know especially, today, Black Lives Matter, and there's so many other things that are happening around, and just speaking out about it, and just, really thinking about human rights and not thinking about color, race, or anything. Human rights. Human rights are it's for everybody. And so just speaking out about equality and what's right, don't be afraid to make your voice heard, because your voice is somebody else's voice that might be afraid to talk.
I know a lot of young people, we might be getting off topic, but like I wanted to add that many young people, including myself, are afraid to make mistakes. So that's why maybe we try not to like raise our voice, but that's how we learn. We make mistakes and we learn. So just don't be afraid of making mistakes. I mean, everyone is not perfect. So like that's how we learn, and everyone does mistakes. So we encourage you to like speak up and learn more from your surroundings. We hope you guys did learn a little bit more about what's happening across the world. We like having these discussions, so let us know if you want us to discuss about something else related to these type of topics. And we'll be discussing about protestants in India going against exams due to the pandemic, and we'll talk about that after this song.
Made this. I was doing shit. Hey, it's Craig Summer. Michael Christmas. Let's do this. Good vibes, late.
Welcome back. The artist you were listening to was by Crepe. You can stream his music on all platforms, and if you are or know a local artist, send your music our way via email or DM at TayRadioMarin to mention on the show. To be mentioned on the show, you can contact us on Facebook or Instagram if you would like to. And we were just discussing about protestants in Thailand, and like having our youth voices be heard, and we think it's really important to discuss this, like raising our voices and not be timid, even though it might be hard. If you're passionate about it, you should raise your voice and speak about it. And we wanted to shift like what's happening across the world, from Thailand to India. And in Thailand, they are protesting, they were protesting about the exams to be postponed or to be canceled because of the pandemic. A lot of students were anxious and stressed about this exam because they have seen rising cases on COVID. So they were just worried, and they didn't really want to take the exam during this pandemic. But the government did not want to allow that because they didn't want to lose one academic year or lose the opportunity for admissions for a college. And these exams are national exams, so they're very competitive, and a lot of Indian people take it, and if you didn't know, I didn't know either, but there's two national exams that they take. It's the NEET, which stands for National Eligibility Entrance Test, and there's also the GEE, which is the Joint Entrance Examination. And for the NEET, those exams are for admissions to medical colleges, and those exams are dated on September 13 to take it. And the NEET, their exams is for admissions for engineering college, and will be scheduled the 1st of September to the 6th. And they have a lot of E's. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot to pronounce, but students are stressed, and unfortunately, they'll continue the exams, but we do want to acknowledge all the hard work that these protestants have done. There has been a young child, who's a female. She's only 8 years old, and I give her props because she's 8 years old and she's already being an activist. She's actually a climate and environmental activist, and she shared how she is supporting the students who were protesting. And her name is Lacey Priya Kanjuham. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. I don't think I am, but I will spell it out in case you guys do want to check out her Instagram. She has a full page of stuff she's doing, and if you want to be motivated, we recommend you looking at her Instagram. So Lacey Priya, it's LICYPRIYA, and Kanguham, KANGUJAM. She had said that unfortunately they have lost the fight, but I feel like they did a good fight. They tried their best, and sometimes it just doesn't work out, but you learn from what you could have done better, and make it hopefully more effective. I know it's a struggle to do that when they have a controllative government. On top of that, there has been floods in India, and a lot of students are worried because some cities do not have internet, or the government has restricted internet. I think it's because they're controlling the internet there as well. But I think I've seen an update that they have gave back the internet for the exams. But there has been floods in Bihar and Assam, and I know many other cities. And I think it was 2 weeks ago, or days before, they said that they'll still do the exams. The students were continuing protesting even with the flood. So you can see how dedicated these students are, and we encourage you guys to be dedicated for what you believe in, and if you stand by it, don't make any adults make you feel bad for it. It's your opinion, it's your choice, and they have their own choice. It's their life, and you have your own life, and you get to choose for it. But despite that, students still have to walk through the floods to go to the exams. And I feel personally, I stand by the students who are protesting, because it's just a lot to handle, and there will be a lot of people in the testing centers. And I feel some are really affected by the floods, maybe they're losing their houses right now and they need to take an exam. It does not sound like a good idea for some people, and some are not privileged enough to have another house, to go in and not feel worried about the stuff around them.
With what you were saying, that some in education and in general, there are people who are not that privileged. For example, for us who we live in the US, we have the SAT and the ACT. I think, is that the right way? Word. And I was lucky enough to take the test, before the pandemic, and then I have the younger group that I work with, and they were in shock. They didn't know how to, work it out because, it's just a different field. So it's just a different feeling taking a test online or going to take a test, and just with everything, because your mind is not just on studying. Your mind is like, oh, how is my family right now? Some people are losing their home, some people their income has just completely stopped. And so for these students to protest, most of them are not just like, I'm lazy and I don't want to take the test. No, it's certain situation that life brings to them, and they can't take the test. It's harder. So like you said, it's definitely right now, education tests, it's really hard because we're not all privileged. There's a lot of people who want to go to school, want to continue their education. But like I said, there are certain situations that are happening right now that is limiting them to be able to do that without any worries. So we just have to keep fighting and
be open-minded of like what's happening with these students, and like you mentioned, like we are taking SATs and ACTs, and I think it's like the same thing. Like they have a testing center for the exams, so like there's going to be a lot of people in one building, right? So they do plan to not overcrowd the center of exams, and hopefully they'll follow the guidelines of what to do to protect yourself from COVID. And we just wish best of luck for the students who are going to take it. I know right now they are probably going to take it today, since we are recording on Tuesday, September 1st. So today is the first day they're taking the exams, or maybe it's tomorrow. I don't know the time difference from India and here, but we wish good luck to them, and we have to think positive. We want to thank you all for watching and listening to the show. We know we're not all perfect, and we hope that we do learn, and our team learns, be better at like being open-minded and helping you guys be more open-minded as well, and you guys helping us as well. Like it's like a teamwork type of way, and like don't be afraid to come a comment like about something you guys want us to discuss, or like you think we should learn more about. And sadly we are near the end of the show, so we'll be talking to you guys next week, and we hope you have a good weekend. Thank you all, and we appreciate all the support that you have given us. And bye guys.
Bye guys.
Of our show for the week. Make sure to catch us next Friday at 4 p.m. on Instagram and Facebook at Tay Fam. Hope you enjoy the show. See you guys.